Hi, welcome to Subcreation. I'm Nathan, I'm an artist and a designer, and this channel is about creative process. Tonight I'm trying something new, doing an attempt at a creative co-stream where I will be streaming live as I'm doing the same art as KidSlam is currently doing on his channel. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. The art I'll pull up over here. You can see, I'm going to pull up real quick. So I'll be working over here, and you can see KidSlam is working on this this tiger, and it just so happened to line up that I'm doing a series of white drawings on black while he is. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up. This is actually the reference here, so you can see the reference in full right there. And I'm going to be doing it differently. I'm going to be doing it in my own way. So that will be working first to develop a bit of a sense for the reference by doing a couple of studies, probably just one study in this case since I just have this one reference. But also one other thing before I get into it, I'll go ahead and start some music. And I'm gonna let KidSlam said to let him know. Oh, looks like he's not there. So I won't crash the stream while he's not there, because that would be turn the volume down on that. So KidSlam and I discussed this a little bit yesterday on Tikiwa's channel. The idea of this is not going to work right there. I gotta move this here. So we discussed this idea of figuring out a way to co-stream as creative channels, and we thought we would give this a try. And KidSlam had suggested the idea of letting him know when I'm live. So once he's back, I'll say something, but I don't want to pull people away from his stream if he's not present. So I'm just boy, that looks pretty. It's hard to see. I'm gonna go ahead and just darken some of those up. Basically just doing kind of a warm-up and trying to commit the reference to memory a little bit, to just trying to build a little bit of familiarity with this image. Usually I do a series, and I could do that. I could pull up some other tigers. I've been working on a number of tigers, or well, large cats anyway lately, so I feel it's not as essential this time as it may have been with some of the other less familiar subjects. Also, I can show you, might be interested to see, I started experimenting with color pencil a few days ago. I could see, learned it's actually really challenging. But that was a tiger that I was working on the other day. Just kind of start. I don't know if I'm going to finish that yet. So part of the idea of doing this co-streaming is getting to see, different artists tackling a similar reference with the same reference essentially. I was wondering before I went on if it might be a little too much to do the boy, I can't really quite tell what's going on with the ear. I'm really wondering, I feel like I'm drawing a drawing here. I don't know if this is a photograph. If it is, it's a very detailed one. Let's see, did I get a comment there? No, that's just pretzel rocks. So, oops. I was wondering if this is maybe a little too similar, because the idea the idea is to explore multiple artists working collaboratively or collectively on similar works. Whoops. But part of me was wondering, well, is this too similar? Because it just so happened, completely by chance, it seems like that, because I don't think Kitslam saw the other day when I was doing my Panther, which, by the way, I can pull up here. So I just started a series before I was drawing in, I was drawing with Sharpie, drawing animals in Sharpie. And then I started with this guy a little over, actually it's about a week and a half, maybe, is it 2 weeks ago now? Anyway, it was kind of a while ago. I actually did this one night. I decided that I wanted to do a whole series like this. And then the other night, what I probably, if I wasn't doing a co-stream tonight, this is what I'd be working on. This is a bat that I started. So I've got a few of these. I can have a few of these going, and it just so happened that Kitslam did this amazing lion, and it was drawing light with like white charcoal or white pencil. I'm guessing in his case, I think he works in white pencil. There we go. That's enough construction lines. So I'll go ahead and start finding some of the key details in here. So it just worked out that Kitslam was did a lion this way, and he was thinking about doing another one. And when I saw that he was going to be doing this tiger, and we were talking about doing co-streaming anyway, I thought this was the perfect time to jump in and try to work alongside as Kitslam is doing his thing. I was a little worried, as I was saying, that it might be too similar, that it would seem like we were doing the same thing. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it'll be interesting to see, even if we did end up with a similar result, which I don't think is very likely. Kitslam's way better at this kind of detail, working with pencil than me. So mine will certainly turn out rougher. I think I tend to put more detail into certain features and then to go rougher on other ones. So I expect the result will be quite different. It'll be interesting to see the difference. But I think also the other thing, even if I could, and I don't think I could, but if I could approach what Kitslam's doing, I think it would still be interesting to watch happening side by side in that impossible world that doesn't exist, where I would do the same thing, because you'd see that we would have a very different approach, even like working toward it. I would have a very different process. I tend to work out from the central emotional features of the face. I think he's skipping construction lines altogether. I'm definitely using construction lines. So anyway, I'm going to keep going here, but that's what we're working on. That's what I'm thinking about here. It really does look like this is a drawing I'm drawing, but I don't know, maybe it's just a very heavily treated image. Maybe it's just like got a filter applied to it or something. I can see already that my construction here is way off. This needs to come way up. Yeah, so part of the idea of doing the warm-up beforehand, one, as I was saying, it's to warm up. I want to get kind of into the flow before I start doing the real thing. I know and admire some artists who start every drawing saying it's a warm-up. At least that's what they'll say. And then once it gets good, they kind of commit to it. And if it's not turning out, they'll just say, oh, that's fine, it was just a warm-up. But I actually like to do the practice of actually warming up by doing the very drawing or variations of the drawing I'm going to be doing, because I feel like I learn a lot in that first round, and then I get better in the next attempt. Well, I don't know why I'm getting to that level of detail. That's a little more detail than I should be doing for a warm-up, though. Oh, if I didn't mention it, the Restream link is down below. So if you want to watch Kit Slam and I together, which is how I'd actually recommend that you do this, you can do that there. And then you'll have the ability to switch between both of our chats, and you can also switch between the audio. So you can listen to my audio a little bit. You can switch over to his audio. That's part of the idea that I'm hoping to experiment with here, is seeing how it works to have two streams going at once. I experimented with it a little bit last night after when we were talking about it. I had a couple of streams going on, and but it was different since they weren't doing the same thing. And of course, there were the conversations that you're having to follow. It was pretty challenging switching between the two, because you had to really concentrate. It took like a tremendous amount of concentration on my part, I felt like, to see what was going on between the two channels, especially because, I'd get involved in one conversation and I'd switch over to the other conversation, and then I would wonder if they were talking to me or anything in the other one, and so I'd kind of switch back and forth between the chat to see if that was going on. So it could be challenging, and I don't know if any of that will carry over here. But I really like the idea of doing co-streaming, of collaborating. I know the way the co-streaming typically works on gaming channels is it's more like a commentary, kind of like it's a sports show and you're watching. Yeah, I'm going to switch over to Kit Slam really quick and see if he's back. Yeah, I'm just going to say hi real quick and let him know. So I won't be able to hear what he's saying because I have my own audio. So it's a little weird. We'll see how that works. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going with this. Kind of wish I could hear that. I thought about trying to use headphones so I could listen to him without overlapping the audio. Oh, it's funny, I didn't even think about all this stuff down here, which is actually the part that Kitsam's working on right now. One thing I think I need to work on a little bit is slowing down, not rushing through it so much, because before I was doing a fair amount of forcing myself to try to do speed drawing and working on reference. I mean trying to say, working on trying to work with a pen, sort of commit to my lines and do one stroke per line of the reference. So that goes like that there. So kind of what I'd say I'm actually doing is, oh, hey, let me say hi. Hi there, Orange Monkey. Orange Monkey art. See if that worked. Thanks for joining. Hope you're checking out the co-stream feature where you can watch Kid Sam and I work side by side. It'd be interesting to know what your experience of it is. I was just saying that I gave it a try last night, and the cognitive load of following 2 streams was actually somewhat formidable. But it was fun too. I did enjoy it. Of course, in that case, I was following 2 streams that were on completely different subjects. So kind of part of the hope here is that by sort of working on a related subject, you're kind of seeing something similar if we're streaming together. Although part of what Tikiwa was describing that I thought was really brilliant that we haven't worked out yet is how we could do a co-stream where we might have shared audio. So like maybe using Discord or something, that like Tikiwa and I, if we're co-streaming, or Kitslam and I could be on the line together, so we both are hearing each other. And then at the same time, that we would hear each other, but then our audio in terms of music, the background, would be split up. Ah, you are watching both streams. Cool. How do you like it? I actually found it was pretty challenging to follow. Actually, I realized, one thing I'm realizing now is that since I know that people are following like that, I'm inclined to, yeah, it's a bit confusing. That's good to learn then. If it's an experiment, and part of the thing about an experiment is, you're taking a risk to see what'll happen, and sometimes from experimenting you figure out what not to do. I think it was Thomas Edison that said you didn't fail, he just found the things that didn't work. That's kind of what we might be doing here. I've been meaning to catch a real co-stream on the gaming streams to figure out how they do it. because I believe what's happening there is a bit more like in sports where it's commentary, where somebody's watching it and they're commenting as the other person's doing it. I would imagine that if you did that, that might not be as confusing, right? If I was just... But then you kind of wonder, if you're doing that and somebody's doing art, why wouldn't you just join the stream and, you know, follow along like everyone else? I don't know. Suppose maybe it would also work if I just didn't talk, or maybe I could get on the I could just run KitSlam's feed and have that be the audio, which is another thing we haven't discussed when we were talking about how to do this co-streaming, but that could work. Yeah, I'd like to know if anyone has any ideas about what might work better. Okay, I know one time I follow one of the first streams I started watching here on Twitch was Gregory Peppo, and he does these warm-ups where he's drawing he draws these skulls before he gets into drawing portraits, you know, like an anatomy exercise. And so he was doing that one night, and he suggested that if people want to draw along with him, that, you know, he posted the reference art so we could. And so I started doing that. I started drawing as he was drawing, and it was a lot of fun actually to draw along while he was drawing. And then it kind of surprised me. He said, "Okay, so show me your art." He asked us to send in everyone who was drawing, because he asked at the beginning who's drawing, and we'd say, "Oh, I'm drawing. I can draw." And then what happened was so he asked for us to show our work, and so I was, you know, racing. I hadn't even thought of like how I would share it, so I had to like take a picture of it and post it and figure out how to get the link to him. And I was really surprised, because I didn't think it would be like that. I just thought, oh, I'll just sketch and it'll be in the, you know, in the background. I mean, we're doing this, you know, like it was no different than lurking, really, right? But when he asked for the art, I had to find a way to share it, and then he was pulling up on his stream, and it was a really fun experience. It felt way more collaborative, seemed more like almost like I was like in a class or something, you know. And so that was an experience I was kind of hoping I could figure out a way to reproduce with the co-streaming, where you could have multiple people working kind of together. And then Orange Monkey Art said, perhaps if you both had a live chat with KitSlam. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You're saying like a voice, like a voice conversation, or you're saying if we both had a combined chat, like a Discord, perhaps, so everyone could have one conversation with two video feeds. I think that would also make more sense. Yeah, I think you do need to combine both of those things. You need to have one voice audio where we're both talking and can hear each other and not talking at the same time, not talking over each other. And then one chat for both streams somehow. If you could figure out a way to merge the chat and to merge your voice audio. I do think that Tikiwa is really onto something with the idea of separating out the music, because that I think that's one thing that really is unique to a channel. Like when I'm listening to Tiki Wah, he has a curated playlist. He's obviously put a lot of thought into. It's a collection of popular music that I enjoy. And my channel is a little bit different. I've specifically chosen all of my music to be. I'm trying to get. I'm not specific. I haven't chosen all my music, but I chose channels that are more in a sort of ambient instrumental range, so that it doesn't compete as much with the conversation. Because part of what I'm trying to do is talk through the creative process. Part of my goal on here is to work on my presentation, and to in doing that also to work on teaching a little bit, be a little bit better at sort of explaining what I'm doing when I'm doing it. I actually have mentioned before on some other channels, I have a son who's in college, and he can't come here and learn from me in person anymore the way some of my other kids can. And also my teenage daughter is the same way. She isn't usually available at the times I'm doing this, but she can come back, and he also can come back and watch my stream later and learn about creative process and about art, the things that I want to share with my kids. Also, because this is being archived, that means it's available afterward, right? I think like for most people, I've definitely noticed with like KidSlam's channel in particular, it's all about the live experience. And that's the case with a lot of the channels that I follow, but mine is a little bit different. One of the biggest values I have in this is actually that it is, on demand, because like I was saying, my son can't, my son can't be here right now. He's probably studying for class or something, and he may not catch it for weeks. But once he gets a minute, he can go back and watch some of them at his leisure. And so that's part of the idea for me, is I'm trying to actually collect these. I save the audio because, kind of part of the idea, the way I kind of picture it is, it's like for posterity. It's like for my kids someday when I'm gone, they may have this collection somewhere, and they'd be able to sort of sit down and hang out with their dad in a sense, and learn from me even when I'm not here. Kind of like, I don't know if you ever saw, there was a movie that Michael Keaton was in called The Story of Us, where he finds out he has cancer, and he knows he's not going to be around for certain things with his family, and so he starts to capture some of the things that he wants to share with them after he's gone. So he's basically creating sort of a video library of knowledge that he wants to pass on. And so that's kind of what I'm doing a bit here. Not because I'm not that I'm not terminal. I'm not expecting to be gone anytime soon, but we're all temporary to some extent. And I thought I've worked pretty hard to learn the things I've learned about art and about creativity, especially the creative process. And a lot of the things that I've learned at work, I feel like would be useful in other contexts. So that's also part of what I want to do. Right, there we go. That's kind of idea. So that's my warm-up. I'm going to go ahead and switch to, I'm going to just check in on KidSlam's channel real quick to see He's still going there. Yep, looks like people are still working. Oh, I see that Orange Monkey Art shared my multi-stream, so that's cool. Very cool. We'll see how that works. Thanks for sharing that, Orange Monkey Art. Interesting to see how this works. And I definitely want to hear, I especially want to hear if it doesn't work, because that's the whole idea of experimentation and trying something like this. It's not just to do it and to force it. It's a great way to archive all your ideas and process. Yeah, actually, so I'm using Restream. This is on Google right now, which I've heard some people have problems sometimes. I think they deprioritize. This is all just my theory. I have no reason to think this, but I think that Twitch deprioritizes people on the cloud. I'm gonna go ahead and when they have, when they're not affiliated and when they have less than a certain number of followers. All just my theory. I have no evidence, but I think I've just noticed my audio cuts out a lot. And that doesn't happen. People who have that problem on my stream don't have that problem on KidSlam's, and I think that probably is due to the fact that he's affiliated. And it just makes sense. They probably should do that to some extent. I don't know. It's a little bit of a catch-22. If they're deprioritizing people because they don't have enough followers, then people are going to leave because they can't really watch the stream if it's not playing, and so those people won't get followers. So I think that's one of the problems. I know a lot of people I've watched some videos on Google where people talk about the problems with Twitch. I think they really haven't figured out their algorithms quite, because I think that is a part of the conundrum why it's so hard to get a following for some people on. Although I can't complain. I've got more followers than I'd ever imagined having had at this point. So I definitely can't complain. But I certainly wouldn't complain about not having viewers or followers, because I have way more viewers or followers than I have. In fact, I tend to get a lot of stage fright. There are times when I'm going to stream and I think, I don't know, what if people show up? If there aren't people there, if I'm like, dragging along without followers, then I'm like, okay, I feel like I can talk and I can do things. I can just do my thing and not worry about it, because then the audience is hypothetical. I'm talking to the future people who will watch it. I know there will be future people, so I still have a little bit of stage fright for that. But that's sort of the point of this, is to get over. Part of what I'm trying to do is get over stage fright. So can't complain too much. Wow, why am I spending so much time on the figure placement of the? Well, I can't help it. I have to balance out the stripes I put on the other side now. But I've got to skip this song. That is really annoying. I may try another channel too if that's. So yeah, usually what I do when I'm drawing. So I'm working on the construction lines right now. You can see I'm working with black lead on black paper. So you can kind of see if this is my process. I try to see through it. I try to build it so much so I'm doing my construction lines show me, where the centers are. Helps me to keep things balanced. I do measure a little bit at this stage, so I can see that the nose is actually. Wait, that can't be. Is that right? Oh yeah. So this area in the center is a square. I would not have thought that. I really thought actually that the nose was all the way down here, which it definitely is not. So yeah, I'm trying to sort of work out the overall proportions divide up the space. I'm also trying to see through it a little bit, so you can see, like, for example, instead of just drawing the, I'm trying to draw sort of more of the eyeball, and then I find the eyelids over it. I don't know, that's maybe a little bit smaller, a little closer in than the eyeball, but so yeah, I'm trying to find the structure and sort of understand sort of how this thing is built in a way that I could also sort of remember, so that next time I'm drawing a tiger, I sort of have an idea of, oh yeah, these are the construction lines for it. These are the sort of shapes that I'm remembering. And also to not to really just draw it twice, but I want to actually make corrections as I go. So the point of drawing it, I drew it twice the first time. I did construction lines in blue, and I did it and went over it in lead. Now I'm drawing the construction lines in black. I'm going to go over it in white. But each time I do it, I'm trying to make corrections and find things that are off, and to improve it as I go. Because I am somewhat, I'm going for accuracy somewhat, not 100%. I know for a fact there's going to be things about my drawing that are going to be off from the source, and I try to embrace that somewhat, because I know if I were to take the original and overlay it. In fact, I've tried that when I first went to digital. I did that kind of thing a lot. I would try drawing from a reference, and then I would take the image that was also digital, and I would paste it over it, like in Photoshop, and I would see there was just so much off about my drawing. Part of it were things that I could work on improving, like things being skewed. But sometimes I noticed that the things that were different were actually the things that I liked more in my source, because it was the style that I was applying. So that brings us to the other thing, the other activity I'm working on right now, which is essentially to this is turning out a lot smaller than I think I'd expected initially, but I don't know, we'll see. I was picturing it being maybe a little more cropped in. Yeah, I'm gonna see. This is gonna be way different from Kitsan's. Probably is like totally maxed out to the paper. Probably will it really well. But that's cool. That's what we get to see. The differences between the work is kind of what makes it unique. So back to what I was trying to say about the so I'm dividing up the space on the paper. I'm trying to kind of get a little bit of the proportions worked out, and as I said, the structure. But the other thing I'm trying to do is identify which lines are important to me in terms of in terms of essentially telling the story of the image that I see when I look at that. Like when each person looks at that image, they see it a little bit differently. It's kind of what, like, people refer to the artist's eye, and that is that we have kind of different interpretations. Some people, if you were to take an artist from Disney, they would do one set of things to it. Of course, that's cartooning. But like you take Picasso or Tim Burton, each artist is going to have a completely different take. Boy, this is super upbeat. Sorry, I've got to try something else. This is just, I'm going to switch back to ambient. I just need a break from that. So for me, what I'm trying to do when I look at the images that I consider to be, or the images, the lines, the shapes and lines, the decisions I'm making right now about how to tell this story in this image, I'm looking for, sorry, you can't see what I was doing down there. So what I'm working on is primarily about conveying the emotion that I feel in this art. So let's see, that usually brings my focus to the eyes. I gotta bring this up a little bit more. This is still just a little bit too. So that means I look at the eyes. So I'm looking at the image now, and I'm thinking, and usually it means looking at the eyes and the mouth, or sort of the two key indicators of emotion. And what I see here is actually a fairly serene animal. I don't know. It's kind of hard to get something because I'm pretty sure that this is a drawing, and so I feel like I'm interpreting an interpretation. But still, there's something there, and I see serenity, a little bit of intensity. Yeah. So that means in the eyes, I want to kind of get that. It has a very fixed sort of intensity. Oh, this does not seem to be quite in the right place over there. I think I've got a little too. Let's see, when I measure that from there to there, is it from the eye? No, it's not. It's from the top of the nose. Okay. All right, so, and also I don't want to do the whole, I don't want to do the whole drawing twice. I'm trying to kind of find really I'm just trying to do construction. And of course, when I say that about copying, that I'm not trying to do it exactly the same, it doesn't mean that I don't dedicate quite a bit of the time to rendering. And rendering is, looking at it and trying to, and I don't mean at all to disparage copying, because that is definitely, as Kid Slam has said before, you kind of want to master realism, or you want to master realism and focus on realism before you can really start to deconstruct it. So if you look at the great painters, the impressionistic painters, they definitely mastered realism first, and that's how they were able to take it apart so with such control and such skill. And Picasso also, who is, Cubism is very different. He started out drawing realistically before on his path to doing that too. So I'm getting a little too caught up into the individual stripes again. But I do kind of want to have a bit of an idea of the layout of the stripes before I switch to the... Should probably focus a little bit more on the nose and the mouth. It's right here. So back to the Impressionists. I feel like the Impressionists went through sort of a similar kind of like artistic existential crisis that I went through, or I actually should put it the other way around. I went through a similar existential crisis to the ones that they went through during their time, because what spawned Impressionism was the invention of the camera. So you had these photographers showing up on the scene where previously, before there was a camera, you had artists for, millennia where that was their sole domain. Nobody else was able to produce images, portraits and historical reference. That was all the job of painters for so long. And then the photograph shows up on the scene, and it was just, overnight, their world was just turned upside down, right? Where up until that point, before the existence of the camera, the only way you could capture a likeness was to have an artist do it. And they had to do it with their eye, and they had to spend a lot of time. And they'd really, perfected that realism, while still also, they still added to it, of course. You look at I really like, I think this is a little bit after that, but I'm forgetting the name of that artist that I like. Yeah, I need notes or something if I'm going to go through art history, because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I can't believe I'm forgetting this artist's name though. I want to say John St. Vincent something. I don't totally blanking. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, where's my white pencil? Well, before I jump into that, I should lighten some of these lines. I was kind of sketching a lot, trying to find these lines, and particularly the ones that show the center. I don't necessarily want to keep those as long. So anyway, the artists had that same conflict, that all of a sudden they were wondering, what is their purpose? What's their state? Why should they do what they do when a camera could do it, and it does it in a flash? It just does it. Well, they weren't as fast initially. They took a little longer initially, but still, compared to a painter, even those really slow cameras they initially had, people had to sit still for a really long time in front of them, were just it was very high speed compared to the state of things before that. And all right, I'm gonna go ahead and start on I think I'm gonna start on the eyes. And I do that because it is sort of the emotional center of the image, and I kind of want to, I don't know if it's because I'm impatient and I just want to, get to that first, or if it's, I guess it's that I kind of want to establish the emotional center of the image first, and then work around that to reinforce it with the rest of the image, I'm guessing. I think it's also because you kind of want to, I heard Kid Slam saying when I was watching him earlier, that he was saying, well, am I feeling this yet? I'm not quite feeling this yet. I want to get to the point where I feel it before I, take a break from it. So I feel like there's always sort of a quality of trying to you're sort of grasping at inspiration, and you want to work under inspiration. That's why sometimes like I try to finish it. Like I don't have a lot of different works going at the same time. I try to kind of finish something before I start another one. Although I've got multiple of them going right now. So, but hey, that's because of this multi-stream thing more than it is. More than it is about not being disciplined. I actually don't normally stream on Tuesdays, but I did because we were talking about giving this a try, and when I heard that Kitsam was going to be starting this Tiger tonight, I thought that would be the time to give this a shot. Oh, hey, I'm Rosie, Mrs. Lomax. Hi. Sorry, I've been chatting it up and not following conversation. Let me really quick at Rosie. Yeah. Welcome. It's good to have people chatting in the stream. Sorry, I was I'm still, that's the one thing I need to get used to in Twitch really, is to keep an eye on that chat. Yeah, I'd like to know what you think, Tikiwa, about this multi-stream thing. I'm guessing that you're watching me side by side with Kitsam right now. Let me check and make sure Kitsam's still going. Oh, yep, good. I see it mixing in some colors in there. Oh, that actually is really cool. I was thinking about pulling up I have some of these color pencils here, like some yellow. I'm a little worried though. That looks really cool in his though. I'm a little worried if I do that because. So it works for you then, because I was kind of wondering if it. For me, it took a lot of concentration when I tried to do this with a couple streams yesterday, but it's different a little bit in the sense that we're kind of on the same subject. But I think having us do the same, if we were both talking, and could hear each other, like what you were describing, I think that would make it cognitively easier to follow. You could listen to either channel and know what's going on, as long as we are taking time to engage the chat, which, like I was saying, I really struggle with. Which is a bummer because I need to definitely engage more for sure. Boy, I'm just getting right into the stripes already. It's kind of challenging because drawing is kind of a meditative practice in my mind. I'm sort of shutting off parts of my brain. Big parts of my brain. And so this practice of talking while I'm doing it is definitely new to me. It definitely helps focus me to try to describe what I'm doing. Like, for example, these lines I'm drawing right now are not a part of the emotional center that I was trying to establish. But one thing that I do, so I guess there's two things I try to do is in the order of the way I tackle it, I start with what I see as being the emotional center, which are the eyes. Oh, and the mouth. So I probably should go from there down to the nose and then into the mouth, and then connect things up and sort of build it. But the other thing that I will do is I'll try to tackle, so it's not just about finding the emotional center of the image. The other thing that I try to do is, like I was saying, it's about telling the story that I see in the image. And when it's a portrait, it's like if it's a portrait of a person, you're trying to find those character attributes, those things that when people see them, they'll recognize this as being that person, right? The qualities that are recognizable about the person. So it could be, it's probably most powerful if has something to do with sort of who they are, like if there's a mannerism about them, or if there's a if there's a thing that they do that's particular to them. Like, for example, you're doing a picture of your grandmother and she always knits, and you do a picture of her knitting. That's going to be something that people who know your grandmother are going to look at and have that connection with. And likewise, but with the tiger, it's a little bit different. I mean, I guess you could show it hunting or other things that you see tigers doing. That's why I like pictures of the cats when they're like baring their teeth, when they're doing sort of their show of dominance. That's also distinctly cat-like. Or the other one too is like this kind of like serene look that they get. That's pretty typical of cats, and the cats that we know in our lives do that. Yeah, I think the reason I'm staying away from the color, though, by the way, is because I don't have the knack with these color pencils yet. If you saw what I was showing that I was working on earlier, I just don't quite have the feel for it. This is charcoal, white charcoal. At least that's what this says, white charcoal. Whenever I hear that, I think, could there really be white charcoal? Apparently there is. Like, I always think, don't they mean chalk or something? But no, it's white charcoal. Oh, good night, Orange Monkey. Hey, thanks for dropping in. Let me say good night. Good night. Orange. This multi-stream, or yeah, was it multi-stream? No, I'm on Monkey Art, Orange Monkey Art. This I'm using this chat for my it's Restream. I'm using Restream to archive this, well, to be live and also archive at the same time to Google, on YouTube, and then there's also Periscope. I wanted to get on, there's another one that's just for art, pick Arto, but I can't get that one working for I don't know what reason. If I knew, I'd fix it. But anyway, anyway, that means I have to, when I use the chat, I'm using this chat UI that is supposed to bring all of the different channels together, but I don't quite see the point in that. There isn't really anyone I want to talk to on the other services. At least I haven't heard from anyone else on the other services anyway to think that it'd be worth doing that. But I figure at least if someone was trying to get a hold of me over there, at least I'd be able to see it here. But I don't know. I think I might go back to just Twitch for that. I see. So it was that line there that got me pulled into doing all of that. And I did not balance over here. So one of the other things I'm trying to do is maintaining balance as I go. Especially if it's a symmetrical image like this one. Let's see, that right there is what? that. Boy, I'm a little. That's another thing too. When you're doing these lines, you can get a little confused. So that's another reason why it's important to. This line. Oh, I see. This line here actually connects to this. So I kind of want to keep this all together. Okay, I see where I am. Yeah, so I also kind of want to go in a way that's logical, where I don't get confused about what's what. So I'm going. Got to keep an eye on the Twitch chat. Looks like it's pretty calm now. It'll be calm for a while, and then all of a sudden, I'll miss all that's happening over there. Just when I think I can ignore it. So yeah. Anyway, the thing I was saying about how so in a portrait of an animal, I tend to think of the things, since, just even recognizing it as a tiger is kind of a part of the story, right? This thing's a tiger. So that means that the lines, that the stripes, essentially, those are one of the important details. That's kind of the feature that does all the work in this story to tell you what it is you're looking at, what you're experiencing here. I'm seeing that kind of going like that, and that maybe like that. Of course, you don't want to get too focused on the lines. Meaning, like, they're just, I don't know what I'm saying. It's essentially that, like, I try not to get too particular about getting the lines exactly right to what I'm seeing up here. I'm trying to remember that, the lines would be different on different tigers. So I shouldn't worry too much about getting them exactly right. But it does help to kind of balance them as I go. Let's see. So there's a little bit of this here. I'll make sure I get this line right here. It's got like a eyelid going on right there. Just like over on this side. All right, it's time to sharpen my pencil again. All right, there we go. Oh, that's way too much right there. All right, so making corrections is important. Boy, it's really raining out there. It's kind of nice after all the snow. Have a little bit of rain. So here we've also got sort of a similar little bit of something, and then we have that going down here like this. To see how things are progressing for Kid Slam. I like what he's doing with that color there. That is definitely way beyond me. I'll probably spend some time trying to develop my color pencil. I've got mad respect for what he does, because with those wax pencils in particular, once you put it down, that's it, you know. I guess it's kind of like Sharpie was like that too, but I don't know, like I expect that with I think it's part of things like I've noticed I draw very differently when I'm drawing with a pencil than I do with a pen. When I'm drawing with a pen, I expect it to you know, I expect to do it in one stroke if possible, and to I'm more likely to take only 1 or 2 strokes at most, but definitely not to sketch it, you know. If I'm holding a pencil, I feel like I need to sketch. Of course, when I watch him, he seems to, you know, he's mentioned he sculpts it, he's kind of building it up as he goes. So maybe I just need, that's the thing, I mean, you just figure out what the technique is for building up with those pencils. But when there's a bunch of stuff going on in here that I probably want to fill in. I could just go ahead and start filling that in since I did kind of outline it. I know as I get into this nose, I'm going to want to stipple it, which with a pencil, that could be kind of, well, I mean, it's probably no harder with a pencil than it is with a pen, but I don't know, for some reason it seems more natural to do it with a pen for me, because, you know, you don't naturally get gradation, but this almost feels like it needs to be stippled with the pencil to have that texture. Second here, I want to switch over and see, gotta look and see what Kit Slam's doing. Thought about having it up on a different screen so I could just look over it any time. That might be what I'll do. I don't know. I'm just gonna, here, I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, I might as well just pull it out. I got that there. I'll just pull it out over here so I can see it. There we go. You see what he's doing without having to show it to you guys twice, because you already have it, right? It's probably right up there, right? Okay, so I've got that line there. Trying to use the trackpad with my left hand is not quite my see, I'm trying to find the details that really make it, really define who this tiger is. I don't know, with mine, these lines in here, the texture in there looks less like let's see, less like a, let's see, where is this? It looks less like it's, you know, tiger stripes, which is what I'm seeing in the source, and more, let's see, more like it's the like it's like a furrowed brow, like it's angry or something, which is not quite what I meant to do. I wonder if that, let's see if that's that there. I think I've got to put that there. So he was talking on, now that I have the stream up, I can see the conversation. I hear Dick was talking about somebody doing ASMR with 2,200 viewers. That is insane. I don't know. I probably should be mindful of it. There are probably a lot of people who like ASMR and that kind of stuff out there, so I probably shouldn't say anything derogatory about it. But it kind of baffles me a bit. I've actually watched a little bit of it, so I kind of get it. It's not that I'm totally, you know, but it just kind of surprises me a little bit that this is not connected right. That's all right. I'm just going to go ahead and let it be one more thing right there, right? Yeah, that did not connect the way I meant for it to. But I gotta accommodate. That's kind of part of the trick, I think, anyway, is to accommodate errors. At least that's what I learned from drawing with Sharpie for a bit. You know, you make a mistake and you got to make it look like it makes sense. Because, you know, your audience, the people who see your art, when I say your audience, people who see your art usually don't see it in the context of the reference, right? And they're not judging it. It's not a school assignment to make it look like the source, right? You just need the work to stand on its own. All right. I'm going to go ahead and what do I want to do? Okay, I want the nose. Oh yeah, I was trying to get down to the mouth. So the top streamer on Twitch has 13 million followers. His bits for the keep are almost in the hundreds of thousands. Wow. For the week. Oh, I see. His bits for the week are almost in the hundreds of thousands. Wow. Who is that? Is that Ninja? I guess at one point it was PewDiePie, wasn't it? Or is he only on YouTube? I don't actually even know. Fortnite. Okay, so I want to bring this over here. All right, I'm gonna take a break from those lines in there and get down to this mouth. The mouth is what really matters when it comes to expressing what this guy's feeling. So good old Pretzel Rocks once again, my most active chatter. I want to experiment with bots at some point. I don't know if you've most of the viewers here probably aren't listening because you're probably watching, listening to Kitslam where the conversation's happening. But one of the things I was doing on here before is some coding, trying to create art from code. And I have some different projects I'm planning on doing eventually when I have the time. I'm going to get to it. So one of them is to program, it'd be cool to program chatbots, and also maybe some interactive features that could happen in overlays on the channel. And make sure I keep these dots in there. It's kind of hard to, might need to take the eraser back to that. So yeah, one of the things would be programming chatbots. I think there's a ton of potential to create interesting experiences with chatbots. And then the other thing, that is, well, that's okay. I'll pull this out. The other thing I was thinking about doing is programming robots. And I want to do the same thing with robotic. So the robot that I'd be programming is a little guy called Vector, made by a company called Anki. I think that's the name of the company. And what's interesting is this robot has an emotional, what they call an emotion engine. So he responds to stimuli around him. So he can recognize your face. He can hear loud sounds. So he gets kind of like spooked when there are loud sounds. He'll respond to, like, he gets upset if he's if he falls and is laying on his side. He gets upset sometimes if you mess with his stuff, I've noticed. Like he has a little toy, and if you put it in front of him or move it around on him, or if you put him back in his, he has like a little charger. If you put him back in his charger when you put him back in his charger when he's been in it for too long, if he's like getting up and getting kind of active and you put it back in his charger, he gets upset then. He's got lots of interesting little quirks to his personality. But my main interest in working with him and programming him is essentially to program behaviors. To like program him to do activities that I would aspire to do, to remember to do. And so he'd kind of make a good influence on me by having him around, So like the one I'm thinking about doing is programming him to daven, to pray 3 times a day. I think that would be kind of fun to have a little robot that's really religious, and he just goes off and he starts praying. And that'd remind me when it's time to pray. It'd just be, kind of an interesting experiment. Maybe he can take pictures, so maybe I could program him to do art, to remember to do some art each day. Seems like the possibilities would be pretty endless. But likewise, I'd like to, work with making a chatbot that can do those kinds of things too. Chatbots that could kind of help you like model behavior, or maybe coach you, like a creative coach bot on your phone. Those are some of the ideas I would want to do. One thing I learned from watching Kid Slam is that he really puts the time in to develop his work. And I definitely find that doing that, slowing down and putting the detail and making corrections are all things that make me like the work more in the end, you know? And I'm sorry I missed you guys earlier when you were commenting in the chat. I also need to get sort of a better setup here for how I draw. Just like I need to be able to see that window a little bit better. There we go. Because this is kind of awkward to hold this on here like this. I could kind of bring this down a little bit though. That might help. Just for my posture. Be able to be above it a little bit more. Particular, there's like these little dots up around the corner there. Not 3 of them, but I need to sharpen my pencil again. Here we go. Oh no. The tip broke. Flew off. It's a lot better when I can actually watch Kid Slam while I'm doing this. That just looks awesome. The way he's working the colors in there does a lot. Okay, so I gotta continue with this mouth down here. If you joined and you didn't hear the bit about the co-stream, just a quick idea on what I'm doing here is this is actually a creative co-stream, so it's a collaboration with me and Kit Slam. So Kit Slam is working on the same reference on his stream right now, and we're both tackling it at the same time. And if you follow the link down below on my page, you can view us both side by side. That's kind of preferred model for viewing this. If you're not watching Kid Slam right now, you should pull that up so you can see us both. And then you'll be able to tell what I'm talking about when I refer to his work. And also I can see the chat there too. Which I'll try to keep eye on our chat, but it looks like it's just pretzel rocks still. All right, now this is where I want to get a little bit more. I want to have a little more texture to it in here because there's definitely the fur. It's a little scruffy in there. He's got like kind of a whiskery jowl. Notice that with the other. I've done a couple of other cats lately, and they have mostly not jaguars, but yeah, no, it was a jaguar, I think. No, leopard. It was a leopard that I was doing last that had this kind of And a tiger or a lion too, maybe. I think I did a lion recently. Let's see, so that's right about there. Try to figure out sort of what the proportion is here on this jowl. Its jaw. You can see Mr. Kitslam doing some measurement over there. That's great. He uses his picture-in-picture to measure different parts on it. Though I can't quite figure out how he makes corrections because I never see him erasing. I guess he's just measure once, right? He measures right before he goes to draw. It can be challenging to keep my brain going to talk when I do this. Mr. Tikua is talking about zooming around like a microscopic mechanic fixing a biotic car. Some interesting ideas there. Might be something in the audio that I'm missing though. That's why I think it really would be cool to be on the same, like be on a voice, like a voice channel on Discord or something. So we could, sort of follow along the conversation. Basically, have essentially one stream, one conversation. I think you really have to unify the chat though for that to work. It really seems to me. So if I turn the light away from it, you can kind of see the progress, because otherwise the kind of blends together. I'll do it like that. I kind of need a certain amount of that light though. Maybe I'll turn this down a bit more and let it get a little bit closer. No, maybe a little bit higher. Okay, keep going. So I've got the mouth for the most part. There is more to do in here. Quite a bit actually right here. But I can really hear the rain coming down out there. All right, there's a little bit of a, so this kind of goes in there like this. And there's that. And then there's a circle, like a round point right there. There we go. Trying to bring that all in there. There's something about working light on dark that is really, really fun. It's like instead of drawing the darkness, drawing in the shade, you're drawing in the light, which is just a little bit more interesting for some reason. I feel more like I'm revealing the image, revealing the form of it. All right, so we gotta start to build out the structure. There's kind of two centers here that I want to build up. They kind of meet up here. I want to build that out. It's supposed to be, and I want to make sure it has a little bit of that texture, or has to have a lot of that texture. This is all texture in here. It's also fairly light, but it also gets, yeah. And I also see it, this kind of goes up like that. Wicked Thumb's really bringing a lot of color in there. Wonder if he has any other reference. I wouldn't know where to put color right now. Yeah, Tiki was pointing out that we are totally working on different parts of the tiger. Yeah, if we could just like overlay it, we'd be done by now. You know, I remember there was like this website or something where everybody could get together and draw, and you'd end up kind of drawing over people, but you'd draw together, and it was a lot of fun. I wish I could remember what the site was called. It was just this wild site where people could just draw, and people were constantly drawing, overdrawing each other's stuff, and like little wars would break out, and you'd have different scenes emerging, and that was so much fun. If we could make a tool like that where we could draw, you know, like have like a real, you know, actually you can do that with Medium. So if anybody out there has Medium, that would be a fun experiment, would be to do a co-stream where you're both in the same stream. I'm not sure though if you have to be, you might have to be there in person, but that would be a lot of fun. I think you might have to be on the same network. But the fascinating thing about that is that, so you could actually, you know, work on the same subject at the same time. Or maybe you could build a scene, you know, one person could work on the scenery while the other person's working on the characters. Oh, that'd be so much fun. But I bet you could do this. There ought to be some way to set up the same kind of thing where you could, if you were working digitally, I think, maybe if you just had two people creating an image and then overlaying it at the same time as you're doing it so you can see the other person's work as you're working. That would be fun. Well, if I'd realized I was going to do the top while he was doing the bottom, I would have put my stream on top. I put his on top because his is definitely, his stream's on top. But I thought, but now that I see that I'm doing the top, he's doing the bottom, it'd be interesting if we could actually match them up while we're drawing. That would be fun. Of course, it'd probably end up being way off, and it'd screw us up, right? Yeah, no, that wouldn't work at all. It's funny to think about, though. That would totally mess me up, though, right? Because my proportions wouldn't line up, I bet. Well, Kitsum is going fast. He's covered a ton of territory. It's probably because working with just one color when he's used to working, well, he's working with a couple colors, but he's working primarily, in a monochromatic, working just on the light, where he's used to working with so much, so much color, so much variety. So this is probably a cakewalk for him. Or like, as for me, before I was doing this, I was doing, what do you call it? I was doing yeah, my brain is like I say, failing me. I did a bunch of Sharpie drawings before this. So I was not only working on just one dimension of light to dark, but on top of that, I was also simplifying things down to be solids where they weren't solids. So like that allows me to go a lot faster, right? I don't have to worry about texture for the most part. I mean, I did do a little bit of texturing here and there. I would stipple the nose and that kind of thing. So I'm guessing you guys it's a pretty solid group that's hanging in there. So you're probably our co-streaming or not. You guys will probably see both of it. But if anybody did drop in and is wondering what this is, I'm actually streaming along with Kitslam. We're working on the same subject, and there's a link down below so you can watch us both at the same time and see how the art develops differently in the hands of different artists. I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because I have been, this is, I think, my third drawing with pencil lately. I do warm-ups though, so that helps. And I'm working with charcoal, which is a lot softer than colored pencil, which Gives me some wiggle room to make corrections and such. And I can, well, I'm not doing it so far, but I also like to smudge things a bit, which you can't do with wax pencils. Okay, let's see, is this quite this? I can see this is creeped up a bit. This part of the drawing is a little, I think I just need to take that out there. See, look at how it just melts under my eraser. I love it. These gummy erasers are the best. If you don't have a gummy eraser, especially if you work in charcoal, highly recommend. The gummy eraser is the best eraser. Okay, so this kind of goes down like that. And now this, that line that I had all the way up there, how embarrassing, is actually all the way down here. And that kind of works its way up there. This does sort of repeat there, so that's fine. It's just that this needs to come all the way down to there. And then this, which I have just up there. Okay, so that needs to come down too a little bit. I was saying earlier that I try not to worry about the stripes being off, but this matters because it has to do with where the shape of the head is. So that goes like that. And then this goes down and then over and like that. So then this is all white in there. It's an awful lot of white. I guess there's supposed to be another line. Maybe another line in there. Well, that's another thing I love about this. You can actually draw with this eraser. See like how much it takes off? You can actually just go right in and draw with it. You just make a nice little point with it. And look at that. I'm actually drawing with this eraser. Pretty clean too. That makes it there. Just love that about these erasers. These erasers, I can't work without these erasers. Losing these erasers when you're drawing is like losing a tablet pen. Which would be awful, obviously. Okay, so this kind of goes, this actually goes all the way up to there. There's none of that. And then this. Need a little bit more hair to it. Some of my lines are getting a little too smooth, or sections, I should say. Some of these. Okay, I'm going to try to smooth this out over on the side. So actually there's no corresponding thing over here. He's got kind of a different pattern on this side. What's happening in here goes all the way out to here. Well, let's see. This is actually kind of the equivalent of that over there. So I'm trying to think out the balance a bit. Oh no, wait. Oh yeah, that's it. Gotta remember to, when I'm filling it in, I don't want to miss that chance to create that that texture. I noticed on that side I didn't do it, and it ended up being kind of too late. I mean, I could erase it and do it some more, but so I got actually two of these little whisker spots. I don't know if that's the technical term for them, but that's what I'll call them. Got kind of like a whisker spot going on here and on here. There's another something right there. Kind of a few of them. Alright, so then finally we got a little bit of a stripe-like thing happening right there. Let's see. So there's another little black, sort of black thing there. Down there too. Let me make sure I get some of this fur in here. Making pretty good progress. I definitely have slowed. I don't know, I feel like I'm slowing down. I don't know if I definitely have slowed down, but it's pretty good balance. I was trying to, as I was saying earlier, I'm trying to keep some balance as I do it to kind of work. Have the image sort of emerge from the center somewhat. I'm definitely making a lot of changes, I can see. Maybe I need to take out a little bit of that. There we go. That's a little more interesting. So some pretty decent symmetry. I've been doing a lot of very symmetrical drawings lately, I think. Well, the bat isn't though. The bat's asymmetrical, so I'll get back to that probably tomorrow night. Assuming I finish this up tonight, which I don't know, that's kind of ambitious. Should kind of hurry up though and get this like this kind of fur. That goes like that. Then this over here. Oh, I see. Yeah. Sometimes with this much, these shapes going, it feels almost a little bit like I'm working on a puzzle when I try to match stuff up. And sometimes when it doesn't match up, I just kind of force it in. I'm just like forcing puzzle pieces together. I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't fit, so I'll just make it fit. Yeah, now as I think, so part of what I was trying to do is focusing on this area first, starting with the eyes and the nose and the mouth, because I wanted to get this really tight. And then my intention, which I'm starting to do over here, is to get a little bit looser, a little bit, I'm getting into the fur, and so I want it to have more of a, like a furry, like, want to have that texture, right? And so I'm going to be, instead of carefully sorting things out, oh, this is nice. It sounds kind of like, it says it's Glowing Moon by Abstractions. Oh, you know what though, I'm getting a little too close here. It needs to separate. Reminds me a little bit of Gershwin. Although, I hope that the creator of this doesn't hear me say that, because that's one thing that drives me nuts. When I'm creating something, to hear somebody say, oh, that this is, that's just like such and such. Boy, that can be discouraging, Like here you're trying to make something new and original in the world, and somebody says, oh, this is just like that other thing. It happens at work all the time. You'll be in a brainstorm or working on an idea, and you have this inkling of an idea that could be something totally original, something totally new, and somebody sort of like summarizes it, in a couple of terms, saying like, oh, that's just that's just Uber for, I don't know. I wouldn't come up with an idea that was an Uber for anything, but I need to sharpen up over here. Whoa. Okay. For a second I thought I'd lost Kit Slam. Oh no. My lead broke off. Okay, I gotta sharpen some more. It's one thing to be a little challenging about working with like a really soft point like charcoal. You gotta be kind of careful in how you apply it. Yeah, so this is the style I'm trying to develop right now, what I'm experimenting with anyway, is this idea of kind of starting out very controlled and focusing on the key points like the eyes and the mouth, establishing sort of the emotional center of the image, and then as you work out, getting a little looser, a little wilder. Oh. Whoa, what happened? Sorry, I don't know what happened just there. I accidentally I think my keyboard fell down. I accidentally hit I must have accidentally hit the button that switches scenes. Sorry, fortunately you guys had Kid Slam to watch, so. Must have been weird though, because my music would have been I have intro music that I wrote in GarageBand, some of my own compositions that's playing on there, and it's set up so you can hear that when that thing is playing, and yet it also will play. I'm pretty sure it also plays my music, from my desktop here. So you probably were hearing both for a moment there. Oh no. Losing my. Actually making some compositions and getting them onto Pretzel Rocks is one of my other goals on this stream at some point. That would be a lot of fun. I really like the style of some of this music. And this kind of very instrumental stuff. It's kind of fun to listen to. And I like to compose that kind of thing. Oh boy, I see now. What's this? I think I've that's up there. Did I not? I did not indicate the ears. Wild. Can't believe that. I did not indicate the ears here. That's... How did that happen? Guess I just moved on too quick. It's because I did it earlier. I thought, didn't I just do these ears? So that's one of the things to keep in mind when you're doing all these multiple passes and practices. You might forget. Of course, it's only a temporary problem, right? I mean, I fixed it practically already. I think for a tiger, well, for any major cat, the ears are actually an important emotional indicator too. So I probably should have been paying more attention to them earlier. What line is this? So I need to worry about connecting up. This is that. Okay, and this goes right onto that. Okay, so I see this is as I planned it. Okay. Not lost track of that. That line there. That's striper line. So I have these lines all mapped out. Don't want to waste that planning. Let's see though, this. Okay, this goes here. Then that goes up into there. Let's see, that goes to there, and then this. Lots of sharpening required. Gotta be careful though, I don't want to blunt it. Yeah, it'd be nice if we had a channel going where we could hear each other apart from the music, because I'd like to follow the conversation over there. Wait, what? This one this goes in. Okay, to there, and then this. Okay, this is gonna go. These ones kind of connect across here, it looks like. Oh, but I missed it. This is kind of the. That's where that was supposed to connect across, and it's up. It's actually above it. That's right, though. I'll just use my handy eraser. Just go down a little lower. And then this is kind of, yeah, this one is coming straight down into it. I feel like things are starting to get a little weird there. I'm definitely deviating from it. And I think rather than letting it get, let's see, I guess I got, that's supposed to be, there's supposed to be a little bit more of a, I think I need a little more over here. It just seems he's getting kind of a funny flat head on mine. Yeah, I feel like the the drawing, the warm up I did before the study, I feel like it's paying off a bit. Like I feel, in addition, like there are two things. There's like sort of a couple sensations that I experience when I have a study like that. One is like almost like a sense of like deja vu when I touch on a certain area, you know, and that kind of gives me like, I don't know, like a centering or a confidence, even though I didn't go anywhere into near this level of detail on it. There's that. There's a bit of a sense of deja vu, and then the other thing is, I thought I had two things. It's just kind of like a, boy, my brain's definitely running out on me here. Sorry, not gonna be painful to watch. I've tried to rewatch these streams when I have this like total brain fallout, total brain. My brain just stops. Can't remember the word for it even. It is kind of the thing I've talked a little bit before about how it feels a little bit like activating the spatial portion of my brain that happens when I'm drawing like this. Kind of by necessity turns off some of the language part of my brain. I'm not totally sure what's going on with this, but that seems to be it, what I see there. Right now there's this Kitsun doesn't seem to have the struggle that I'm describing of the brain just sort of refusing to make words when the hand is making pictures. That's probably because he's a teacher. That probably helps a lot. I really need to just get a little bit looser over here with this. This is taking too long. No, I'm still on those lines. I was worried I had deviated from the construction lines that I'd found for this. think that's a little too much. And again, the sharpening. It's fascinating to see Kid Slam working on the same. He's actually working on the exact same part I'm working on at the moment. And it's funny because oftentimes when I'm drawing by myself, I kind of operate under this illusion that there's a right place for this thing, you know, or a right way to render this thing. And of course, watching another artist, and an artist of I think a much greater degree of accuracy than myself. Watching him work on the same thing, it makes me totally realize, like, oh yeah, you could do it like that too. And I look at mine, because I know as I'm doing mine, I'm realizing I'm seeing the gulf between this and the reference as I go. But when I'm seeing all three of these things at the same time, the source, mine, and Kitlam's at the same time, I see that, oh, they're like infinite variations of this thing. Boy, I need like a clip or something to hold this desk I have here. It's nice. I like it because it's you know, rolling desk. You can move it around, so it's portable. But the downside is it has it's at a sloped angle, and you can't adjust the angle. It's just the one angle. I mean, the angle kind of adjusts when you move it down. This is a little better. Let me pull that back over there like that. I should probably tackle this ear before I get too far away from it. I see there's some new names over there in Kitsam's chat. Wonder if I missed a raid or something, because it seems like there's some new people there. That's the one downside, is like, as I see conversation happening over there, kind of want to jump in and chat a bit. I want to greet people and tell them goodbye when they go, and I'm a little too busy can't quite do all that at the moment. Trying to get a little bit of variation in there, make it a little bit more interesting, but I can tell that this gap here is way too much. And I can try to bring this over, but I think that ship's kind of sailed. So that part is what it is. Yeah, that's what I think. I do think that was kind of a valuable lesson I got from the Sharpie, especially when I was doing the Sharpie without doing construction lines beforehand. That really taught me to embrace mistakes and to build on those errors, to sort of accommodate them as I go. I think there were times where I started to worry that I was ruining my accuracy by doing that, right? Like, I just make mistakes, and everything was always about basically about adapting to error, you know, accommodating errors, and rather than getting more accurate by seeing how to correct it. It was like I'd always introduce errors, and then my designs would get more and more off as I adjusted for the errors and had, had to essentially spread those errors throughout the design in a number of ways. Particularly in, like I'd have to sort of skew everything a little bit to make things meet, or to all right, now for this ear over here that is kind of in an awkward place to get to based on everything else I've finished, but that's okay. Did I put those, my guidelines are all off over here. My construction lines, I mean. It's all right, I can fix it. So that's what I mean about, when you do the warm up and then you do construction lines in the warm up, and you do construction lines. You do your construction in the final thing. It's like practice, I'm getting closer each time, and that was a chance, I'd made one mistake. And I went to do the guiding construction lines, but I have this chance to fix it, Whereas if I was just rushing straight ahead, well, then I'd make those errors. And I was actually just talking a second ago about how accommodating is one of the things you learn. So, it's a mixture of it. It's not all one or the other. You want to be able to do both, right? Sometimes you need to keep going and it doesn't matter, something's off, but certain things, like earlier with this jaw, when I realized I had the shape of the head off, you realize, oh, that can't be off. There we go. That works. That's the idea. And again. Oops. Lost my phone. Oh, got that out of the way again. All right, let's sharpen. I feel like I'm juggling a bunch of stuff here with this this pad, kind of balancing, and get that keyboard up there that it falls down. And then I've got to sharpen, and I've got the Alright, let's see if I back up and kind of squint my eyes, I can see that, this is way brighter than I have it. Just trying to balance out the values. When I looked at the, I tried to kind of squint at the source, at the reference, I mean. I can see some pretty big differences between the values that are like really strong, really bright in the source and what I'm emphasizing. So my drawing was looking a little flat to me, and I'm just trying to balance that out. All right. It's supposed to look a little wilder in here, but I can't seem to get it to quite have that. If I do too much, it kind of all gets muddled. Just kind of. I'll have to do. I like how that over there is, but I just can't quite get the same. Be a bit of that. I don't know. All right. Now I think I'm going to go ahead and do those whiskers. All right, so let's see. First of all, I've been kind of filtering out. There's one whisker. First of all, this actually kind of needs to be a little bit more shaped. So there's one whisker that goes like that. One that goes across like that. Up here, there's right about in here. It's funny how I was just totally filtering them out when I was drawing up there. Which works out. I wouldn't want to have been indicating them as I was going. But still, it's kind of funny. Actually needs to be a lot. I guess that's it. Looks like I've been smudging over there accidentally. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just work this out. No, I need a little more sharpening, just a little bit more. All right. All right. Oh. There we go. See, I have a lot more space going on here that isn't in the original, so that's a little off. But that's right. Boy, I've got it really kind of skewed there. That's maybe I went down too low. Some of that. Maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's too thick in here. Oh, thanks for the host, Tikiwa. See, the co-stream has ended because KitSlam is finished. He was going for, I think, 5 hours when I showed up. Been going for 5 hours, so he must have been at a full work day there. Go ahead and pull some of this stuff out. It won't seem quite so odd to have the, I don't know. Now I'm gonna got a bit of this going down here. I think I'm gonna keep mine a little bit lighter because I don't want it to get, I need it to be distinguished from there. I think this is a drawing that I'm doing, so I kind of want to reinterpret the interpretation a bit. What are you guys doing out there if you want to chat. Don't be shy. I know I've not been as active in fostering the chat like KidSlam is, but I can try. KidSlam's channel is a lot of fun. I notice I watch a bunch of different Twitch streams and kind of try to compare and see what people are doing differently. And one thing I notice is that other people tend to be kind of have more of like a laid back vibe. I tend to kind of be a little too intense maybe, but haven't quite figured out if that's just sort of my thing. I think it might be, I don't know. Like, I have very limited time for creating art and doing this sort of thing, so I really want to get as much out of my effort as I can. And I think that probably translates into being pretty intense. So like where other people are kind of carrying on other conversations and talking about other things. Sometimes they're kind of like games that are being played or stories being made up in the chat. That's fun. I enjoy participating in that. I'm not saying anything against it, but I think I've got kind of like an urgency that I feel to explain some things, to work out my creative process, and to create something and to learn from what I'm making kind of rapid fire. So it tends to come up a little bit more intense, but might just be me. I know another thing that's kind of important is you got to kind of put your personality into it, and I think that might be part of my nature. I do kind of balance it by trying to have the chill music. Looks like people are heading out now. I'm almost done with this. Yeah, that's not gonna go all the way down now. Oh well. I thought I had planned it, but maybe not. Maybe I didn't quite get it all the way down. Didn't I wanted to fill the whole page. That's all right. Oops. The problem with this setup. Kind of want that to be a little bit softer there. See, that's the beauty of this magic gummy erasers. It just can take stuff right back. Can work in both directions here. And now over here, I just need to actually, that should be going all the way up to about there. And then this comes all the way up into there. All right. I think that's probably about, and do a little bit more here, I guess. All right, I think that's it. Looks about done to me. So You see my proportions are way off here, so I probably should have stretched that out, but that's all right for one night stream. That's not too bad. It's kind of fun. Let's see, I got a little bit to clean up over here. It looks like I'm not sure what happened there. But yeah, I think that's a wrap. I ended up with something all right. It's a little skewed there, and it's a little too short in there, but which kind of takes away its sort of regalness. But I think its nose actually looks a little big now that I'm looking at it too. But in any case, I think it does have the basic feel of the source. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night if you're around at 8 o'clock. I'll be continuing. Let's see, where is it? I'll be continuing work on this guy. I guess this is actually, I guess he's upside down. That's what he'd look like if he's upside right, but this is actually the direction of the drawing. So that's probably what I'll be working on tomorrow night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Had fun. It was interesting trying an experiment with something new with co-streaming. I don't know, from here I can't tell how well it worked. It was interesting for me to follow along and watch KidSlam's work as I was doing it, and seeing how we're going different directions with some things, and really see how much variety and possibility there is in the same image. So here, I'm gonna kill this. I really need to add a what do you call it, credits thing like KidSlam has. So I do not have